what you are, who you really are, has already allowed this moment to be exactly as it is. Who you really are has already said yes to these thoughts, these sensations, these feelings. Who you really are can't say no. It doesn't know yes and no. It doesn't know acceptance and non-acceptance. It doesn't know allowing and not allowing. That's always how we think. We always think in terms of one or the other. We think in terms of allowing or not allowing. But from the perspective of who you really are, it's all already been allowed in. Who you really are allows it all. Why? Because it is all of this. And this is again, you can't talk about this. This is the true meaning of the word non-duality. That who you really are is inseparable from life itself. So who you really are, you can't even say that who you really are allows all of this. Who you really are is all of this. It's inseparable from every thought, every sensation, every feeling. The stuff we call positive and the stuff we call negative. Who you really are, it doesn't know positive and negative. Positive and negative don't mean anything to who you are. Light and dark don't mean anything. Those are all thoughts, concepts, beliefs that come afterwards. That's what we've been taught. We've been taught to think in terms of light and dark, positive and negative. But from the perspective of you, of who you really are, it's all just allowed in. As I often say, like the floodgates of life are already open. So that really turns the whole spiritual search on its head. Because so many spiritual seekers that I meet these days, and this was true for me years ago as well, I was searching for awakening. Thinking that awakening was something that I would find one day. I was searching for acceptance. I was searching for love. I was searching for peace. I was looking for something. Thinking that that's what life was all about, was finding what I was looking for. But the discovery of what I share these days, that turned the whole thing on its head. It turned the whole thing on its head, because now life was no longer about me, a separate individual, working my way towards something. Now life was, well, it turned the whole thing on its head. Now life, all of life was here. All of life is here. So life is not something that you find. It's not something you discover. It's not something that you reach one day. It was always here. That's the cosmic joke in a way. It was always here. Grounded in that recognition. You see, that's where the fear of life disappears. Because now it's no longer me and life. There's no longer two things, me and life. That was always the illusion. There is just this unspeakable, you can't even talk about it. There's just this unspeakable mystery that we call life. We call it life. We don't know what it is. And this message is not, for the mind, for the seeker, for thought. This message isn't particularly interesting because it doesn't offer the ego anything. It doesn't offer the mind anything. It doesn't offer anything for the seeker. In a way, this moment as it is, this is the last thing the seeker wants to hear about. Because it's death to the seeker. This is death. And then the huge paradox there is that death is life. It's everything we were ever longing for, looking for. Appearing as the absolute radical simplicity of this moment, of sitting here, sensations, thoughts, the cup of coffee. It's this radical simplicity that we were always looking for. What you are is already at rest. It's always been at rest. It never needed to escape this moment. It was never interested in escaping this moment. It's always been resting in and as this moment, just as the ocean is always at rest in and as every wave. The ocean doesn't need to escape its waves. It is the waves, and there's that, knowing that, there's a huge rest in that. Knowing that everything that appears is none other than yourself. And knowing that everything that appears is deeply allowed in what you are. I mean, um, that brings great ease and rest and peace with it. You know that you're only ever facing that which has already been allowed. So this is the invitation. Goes to the heart of what I share. This goes to the heart of what I talk about and I share. This deepest acceptance. And I mean, I've spoken about spiritual awakening in many different ways over the past few years, but these days this is more and more how I'm talking about it in terms of deep acceptance, because this stops it becoming an intellectual game. I've really seen over the past few years how, as I was saying, if you're not careful, non-duality just becomes this intellectual game, and people start fighting over who's right and who's wrong. And so, but really the whole thing is just an invitation to return to the deep acceptance of this moment, not as something that you do. You don't have to try to accept. I mean, that becomes so exhausting, but it's recognizing on this deeper level that everything that's appearing right now has already been allowed in. It's already been allowed in. So if you're trying to accept, or if you're trying to resist, in a sense you're already too late. This deep acceptance has already happened. It comes before you. It comes before you. It's the deep acceptance that has already happened. It's the deep acceptance that you are, not something that you do. It's really pointing back to who you really are. So that's, as I was saying in the beginning, that's what we seem to have forgotten as a species. We've lost touch with this basic gratitude for this moment. And we've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten that who we really are on the deepest level is this open space of acceptance, of allowing, that's always happening. You're not a separate person, somehow separate from this moment on your way towards some future enlightenment. That's the old enlightenment myth. This breaks that whole thing apart.